With the arrival of the League of Votann, it does appear that the door to expanding the setting has cracked ever wider. Over the past editions, we've seen mostly an expansion of the Imperium and Chaos ranges when new factions have been introduced. The arrival of the Adeptus Mechanicus, Imperial and Chaos Knights, Death Guard, and Thousand Sons come to mind as Games Workshop's efforts to build the range has continued. Prior to these armies, the last true expansion of the game took place in 3rd edition, with the advent of the Tau and the reinvention and re-implementation of the Necrons. The first non-imperial arrival of a new force, or non-chaos reinvention of a force that we've seen now in literal decades, are these miniatures, the Votanni. So that begs the question, even if slowly, what other armies could Games Workshop bring to the fore? What is there to build upon or to introduce to the setting? When would it reach a point of too many armies? These are interesting questions to pose as well, but for today's video, let's examine what options there would be beyond the Votanni to see rise to the fore and receive an army in the future. The first on this list worthy of discussion in my view are the Kroot. Long have they been held in the shadow of the Tau, and most importantly of all, they have existed, though briefly, as a force in Warhammer 40,000. A small range already exists for them, which is likely to be refreshed soon in 10th edition. I'd argue that it makes more sense to spin them off into an army in and of themselves, within the Tau Empire, fleshed out with a new range of units and new sculpts, and this force would be ready to go quite easily and would in all honesty likely be quite popular in its own right. As of now, the Kroot are typically unfielded by Tau players, but building their own army adjacent to it, either how the Drakari Codex does, or by giving them a full expansion, only makes sense. Next on this list would be, in my estimation, the infamous Hrud. The image of these creatures has taken on many forms, and though the information on them has shifted over the years, starting as Skaven-like creatures to Xenology's strange bug-on-death evaporating monsters, there is fan support to see this range in the future, regardless of the form it takes. There's somewhat of a desire to see the completion of the Eldar range as well, with the introduction of the Exodites as their own army. Personally, I would caution against this simply because Exodites only defend their homes and typically don't utilize space transport. An important army, which has been lumped increasingly inside of the Chaos Space Marine range, in my estimation, might simply be to dissect the mortals from the core Chaos Space Marine army and recreate the Lost and the Damned, otherwise known as Renegade Guard. This army could be made complete by also introducing the Dark Mechanicum as a component within the roster. Essentially, an undivided Mortals of Chaos army could cover all the vital pieces of the unrepresented force in Warhammer 40,000. Finally, on our list, at least for today in this list of rampant speculation, I think there is an enormous hole in the current roster of Warhammer 40,000 insofar as there is no reptilian aliens in the setting as a broad, playable faction. With that being said, I would love to see the old ones reintroduced to the setting, either as the Slanai returned or something new and fresh. This would work well as an antagonist with the Necrons, and because there could be deeper stories to tell with the Eldari and the Orcs, as well as, of course, human factions. The key thing to making this work would be finding a visual niche that works, and finding a gameplay function that would make them fun for the game as a whole. These were the sincerest and legitimate armies I could think of that feel like 40k either needs them or that currently lacks them, now that we've seen the squats make the return to Warhammer 40,000. However, what do you think? Is there any species or armies you would like to see get a full army release in Warhammer 40,000? Let me know in the comments section below. With that, I must depart. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. I'll also catch all of you in the comments section below.